Hi, everybody. It's Steve Olson and Wayne Starger. It's Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. I'll get that wrong for a while. How you doing today, Wayne?
I'm doing fine, and I'm speaking from 2020. No, I mean 20. I'm doing good, Steve.
Awesome, awesome. And what I've got, you guys, what we're looking at here is SOTT, Signs of the Times, and it's a website that a lot of truthers like to go to kind of catch up on natural phenomenon that's going on in the earth and things like that. They like to record a lot of natural phenomena. The reason I wanted to bring this particular article up and reference it here in a link below is this Dr. M.A. Rose. I wanted to compliment the author of this because this is the best, by far, fireball data I have ever seen. And I have been looking, Wayne, everywhere for this stuff. But check out what we would have expected. But the data follows that fireball activity has increased dramatically over the last decade.
Well, I'm kind of glad to see that myself, Steve, because it certainly validates what we have been reporting.
Right. And there is nowhere that you can get this data in this format. And that's why I wanted to compliment Dr. Rose and reference this article. And I won't go through and read the details, so I'll just point everybody to it. But if you're ever wondering, what the status of fireballs are in terms of what's happened over the last decade, this is a great place to go and check it out. And that would be this SOT.net article. I'll leave the link below. And we're going to try to get a hold of Dr. Rose to see if he'll come on a show with us.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, this is the kind of information we've got. Listen, no matter how you want to take your position on this, you can say, well, listen, you guys are just trying to stir up fear. No, we're not. I mean, if you can't handle the scientific facts and if that causes you to have fear, well, then you deal with it, but don't accuse Steve and I of going out there and propagating anything. This is fact. Something has happened, Steve, to our solar system. We're now seeing what we thought that they had numbered a number of the big boys out there that could kick our butts.
Yeah.
But now they're even admitting that they thought they had 95% question. Now they're not so sure. So this is serious. It's something that we need to be aware of. And quite frankly, I think it's something that if you look at a United States issue, you look at a UN issue, this is something I think needs more funding. There's more research that needs to go in there. And my God, Steve, if there's one thing that I think that we should begin to develop, would be an effective deflection strategy, right?
Yeah, and I honestly do believe that they have been developing it. For Wayne Steiger and Steve Olson to be sitting here thinking that we have some kind of an insight that the government doesn't have would
right.
We're not. What we're doing is we're catching up to what the government already knows. And what happens is we'll put out a point of view like we think that based on what we're seeing, we think that fireballs are increasing. And then we see this data from Dr. M.A. here. And it confirms what we were thinking. And then what you'll see lagging, and this is what our experience has been over the last year, then in a lagging way, the government will come out with a news release about a month from now talking about fireballs.
Yeah.
That's what happens, right?
Right.
And I think that's what happened here. Hey, did you see this quote? This is actually pretty relevant. I'll read it. Cowardice asked the question, is it safe? Expediency asked the question, is it politic? Vanity asked the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because one's conscience tells one that is right. Martin Luther King Jr., quote of the day. Sorry, I'm one day late on Martin Luther King Day.
Well, no, but that a very wise man, and yes, I agree with that. By the way, I want to put one caveat before we leave this subject. Now, we're hoping that these same individuals, let's just say we're going to identify them as a group. You do realize these are the same individuals that back in the 50s wanted to actually send a nuclear bomb up on the moon. Let's just hope that today that better minds are now prevailing.
Yes, thank you for that. Now, speaking of weird stuff, we've seen this bad boy a couple times, and I'll try to expand this up a little bit so you can see it better. But this is from the 12th, just a couple of days ago. And here again, we've got that strange, very quick moving object trail going across core 2.
Can we go to Secchi and see? Okay, this was when, the 12th?
Yeah, the 12th, yeah.
So I know what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that this is a problem with the camera. It's just the way that it's processing the light. I don't think so. And I'm like with you, Steve. We have seen this. If that's the case, then this camera again. What's wrong with these cameras? I don't understand.
I know. I don't either.
Now let's take the other side of the position.
Yeah.
We keep seeing this, right?
We've seen this since you and I have started looking at this together carefully. And if you go back to BP Earthwatch's archive, you're going to see several frames where you'll see this thing going across the screen, leaving this trail, and it's an orb with a hole in it. And it moves like really fast. It moved across this frame, and like I said, within a minute. It would have taken 1 minute to transverse. What would that be in interstellar space? A million miles?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the sun, and it's bad. This is a parsec of space, I think. Wouldn't it be considered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And this thing is trucking across the frame so fast that we barely catch pictures of it. And here's the thing. People will say to us, that has to be a camera anomaly because nothing known can do that. And I would say that's your problem, is that you think you know everything. The problem is you don't really know what's out there. There could be life forms, Wayne, that are huge life forms that just travel through space. We don't know.
Okay, I'd like to postulate this. Mike Brown and Caltech, I think it was in 2015, November or December, they released their paper on exoplanets of observations in the Kuiper Belt. And what their observations was that they found objects that were, in one case, they said it would be it would be big enough if our orbit in the solar system. My question is this, Steve: could we be seeing these invisible, as the paper wrote, these invisible exoplanets that apparently don't have any loyalty to any particular gravitational orbit? Could we be seeing this, that this is the result of what the camera is picking through highly charged ions?
Absolutely. And so the reason I pull these pictures up is not to say, Nibiru's here, look, it's Planet X. I don't know what this thing is, you guys. I've seen it so many times, though I know it's there.
Steve, can you magnify that? And I want you to get into the oscillating arm and where it crosses, because here's the deal. It looks to me like the oscillating arm is obscuring the light, which would tell me that it is. So it's behind. The oscillating arm is picking up what is the light source behind. It looks like it's actually blocking that out.
Right, like it went behind that oscillating
Yes, that's
arm.
my point. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely right. And if for everybody wants to know, that basically there's a little rod that goes out to this occulter here.
That's it.
Yeah, and that's a fixed piece of equipment there. This isn't coming off of the sun. This is basically a piece that holds it in place. And then this is the object went clearly behind it. So if it was some kind of a camera anomaly, I would have expected it just to be a blur across the whole frame.
So as I'm sitting here, and I want to add a little caveat, so what we're really seeing are photons as a result of an interaction with something. I mean, that's the byproduct of what we see with highly charged particles emitting from the sun.
That's exactly right, because that's what we see coming off the sun there in these coronal ejections, is that density of protons.
Yep, that's what it's doing.
So here, let me show you another one to keep the conversation moving here. Look at this.
You know.
And by now, if you've been following WSO or Wayne Steiger for any length of time, excuse me, you know that we have literally thousands of photographs and have personally observed this halo. We have looked at it from space. It's there too.
Yep.
We look at it from the ISS. It's there. And one of the things that's disconcerting to me about this halo, and we have lots of theories about this halo, Wayne, is it's getting bigger.
It is getting bigger.
And it tells me it goes back to the question, are we looking at a iron oxide or helium on iron oxide bubble continuing to grow around the sun, Wayne, or what are we looking at here, do you think?
By the way, I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. I think that we are, because here's the deal. I keep on going back to the Secchi photo that we were analyzing yesterday. And, sometimes I stare at it and I go back and I look at the archives. When we started recording this in where we're on the record was last year. I think go back last March, last April. And this thing is expanding, Steve. It's expanding. It's having more of an intensity. When I look at the sundog, I get it. We get the science. But you know what? I keep on getting almost the mental imagery of a CME coming off the sun. You see it to the left?
Oh, yes.
So it kind of emits to me that same thing. And
this is the part that just blows my mind is why do I get the bubble part, right?
Yeah.
But why do we get these very distinct light beams at every 90-degree angle across Europe? Let's call it the railroads of Monopoly, okay?
Yep.
In each 90-degree corner and top and bottom, we get this emitting light off the sides, and that's been a reality since we've been looking at it. Yeah.
And the excuse that they use, our weather guy here did a segment on this phenomenon because people were calling in. And of course, what they're saying is that it's simply, the atmosphere bending the light, and this is what you get the effect. And it happens particularly where cold, dense air is. Okay, we get that. But not like this. I mean, we're documenting, like you said, Steve, it's growing.
All right, and since we were talking about Secchi, I thought what I'd do is just pull up today's. So what I did was I went and I re-downloaded our images just to see where we are today. And you'll remember we saw that phenomenon already, and this is just adding another day. So it's loading right now. And we got a lot of great comments on this huge Birkeland current right here in the middle.
Yeah.
A lot of people are telling me or thinking that this might be the location of the brown dwarf right in here.
Oh.
A lot of folks think that's the
case.
Great
observation.
Yeah, because what else would create that huge of a Birkeland current in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
well, it makes sense because, and I think that object down to the right, is that a comet? No, the one up actually is producing the Birkeland current. The next one right next door to it.
This one?
There, yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, I think BP is saying that that's Comet Honda.
Okay. Well, you can see now that just brings to our point. It's an electric universe. Yeah. Here's the comet that's actually generating, right, its own Birkeland current. So when we begin to see these showing up in other areas, where are they connecting to?
Yeah, and I wish they just take this occulting disc off so we can just see what's there.
At some point, I like that idea though. That the brown dwarf.
It could be. And then again, if you compare that to what we're seeing here with the Earth, the Enel stuff. There's that damn hole again. Geez, isn't that scary and icky? Coronal hole I'm referring to, but that coronal hole will coincide, or it will coincide with the positive and negative sides of the sun. And here we go again, coming from over here on the left side of this meter, we're seeing that strong energy again coming from over there, and it does align with, where is Venus right now? Here. So If you think about it being back in here somewhere, if there was an object back in here, we would see it. Let's see here. We would see it like here. It would be in this area back in here.
Well, And that's where we need to start putting the pieces together, folks. All right. So we can see that, and we're just building a theory here
That's
because
all.
we don't have the Secchi boys sitting down with us on a call, although I would love to see if they do an interview.
I would love that. We'll try.
Let's try to do that, Steve. I think that's a good idea. Let's see if we can get a public spokesperson, and maybe we can get one of the let's do that.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and WSO, we'll put our production team on that and see if we can't find somebody to talk to us on it. But before we get off, I just wanted to do a quick update on the coronal hole. Of course, is continuing its transit across the Earth-facing side of the disk. And look at this really intense activity that's started over here, though. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's those two the sunspots there. But Steve, you know what I keep on looking at, my friend, and maybe it's just me, but I keep on seeing on the North Pole and the South Pole a permanent coronal hole.
I know, right?
And it seems like the normal reaction that we want to see, the fusion, right?
Right.
Is that it's seems to be now 30 degrees from both poles, and it just seems odd, my friend. Just seems odd.
It does. And not to just keep rat-tat-tat, and this comes from way back in June. Do you remember when we were doing the balloon flights?
I do.
We captured this green thing several times in our photographs, and here's somebody that captured it from the ground. I thought you'd be interested to see it.
You know, I just look at, when we just start looking at the indicators, they're all pointing to something's out there. And let me just say this, Steve. You and I've talked off the record on this in conversations, but what we're finding out even from the scientists that they're saying, listen, we don't know everything that we think we know, even about our own solar system. We're going through regions of space, and people don't believe that. There's actually some people who say they don't understand what the implications of it is. It's like this. We can't see around the curve.
Right. It's like driving down a highway, guys, right? And sometimes you have sunny weather when you're driving down the highway, and all is clear, and you don't have to have your windshield wipers on or nothing, and you're just flying down the road. And other times you run into a rainstorm or a windstorm, and then all of a sudden your vision's obfuscated, or there's objects around you and things flying around. It's the same idea. We're flying through space following a white dwarf. I guess that's what we consider ourselves.
I think we are, yeah.
And we're basically in the magnetic hold of this white dwarf. So we're just chasing it through space. And wherever that white dwarf goes, that's where we're going. Okay? That's how it works. I don't care if you agree with me or not.
It's the way it is.
I don't care. But along that line of interesting photographs, this one really got me going, because check out how this cloud formation, seems to go right up into space, doesn't it?
It's ascending.
It's ascending up into the cloud. Have you ever seen a space shuttle or a rocket ship take off into space before?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And isn't it's funny because it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going, and all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, it's like, what happened?
This reminds me of that same feeling that I got when I saw the shuttle take off one day.
Well, what gives us away is the fact that you can actually see in the perspective. A lot of times in the clouds, it's difficult to see, right?
Right.
Right, but that one clearly, that's cool.
Yeah, really cool. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just play around with it for just a second while we got it out here. See if we can see anything interesting. But it almost makes you think that there's maybe something up exo-atmospheric up in there that's above our Earth. That's what that. And a lot of people have seen this. This is like not a new discovery. I've actually seen planets, or what I thought to be planets, in the sky looking just like that, but actually seeing the round planet and a debris trail behind it.
Well, Steve, if you could amplify, look at the space between the base glare. There you go, right there.
Right in here? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to zoom in on it?
Yeah.
A little more?
Yeah, that's a good analysis. Look at that.
So, like this is the big planet right here.
Yeah, and listen, something is concurrent. You know, you can say, well, it's the wind, but you have multiple wind patterns up there
It
that
almost looks like an object just slowly came down from here, and we just caught it in mid, like we caught this photograph right where we caught it right there, you know, as it was moving across the sky.
yeah, and I think that what we're seeing is a reaction. Now, of course, people can say, are you crazy? Hey, listen. All I ask is define normal.
Well, I think this is a good point in time to stop our conversation for a second. Let's talk to the people that maybe haven't been around WSO or Wayne Steiger for a while, and just kind of reset. It's like, what are we doing here, you guys? Why do you think we feel it important to show you the data, the fireballs, the comments like Wayne just went through on his channel? You got to go check out Wayne's channel, Wayne Steiger. Guys, he did 2 videos that will just blow your mind on comets and near Earth orb objects. I think were the best 2 videos I've seen on that. The comet one, I've never seen anybody talk about comets and how they've increased. Please go check out Wayne's channel. But here's the thing, guys. Let's talk about it. Why do you think we're doing this? Do you think we're doing it to get famous? Is that what you think? Or do you think that we're doing this for money? Is that what you Because I'm telling you, I don't want to be famous, and I ain't making no money doing this, okay? So the question is, why would a guy drop his whole life, throw his whole life out the window, and dedicate myself to telling you what's going on? The reason for it, you guys, is nobody else is doing it. A lot of people are out there trying to create this idea that the sky is falling, and they want you to be in fear. And I reject that. I think that this is science, that we need to look at it like scientists, but I hate being lied to. And I know that my audience hates to be lied to. So this channel is about telling the truth. And then what we want to do, guys, is connect it to why are things happening on this earth. You don't think that this stuff is having an impact on our government? You don't think that this is having an impact on geopolitics, on finance, on everything that affects our life day to day? Huh. Wayne?
Well, I'll take it one step further. It's actually the survival of our species. And it's, you know, to me, it's not about Nibiru. It's not about Planet X. It's not about a single event, because from my perspective, Steve, and you know, what I'm grateful for is with WSO is that we have tens of thousands of eyes all across the globe. And they are more reliable to me than the news.
Yes.
So I can come to a place that at least I can see now, whether I want to believe it or not. Hey, listen, when I read the New York Times, ask me how much I believe what I'm reading in there. The point is that there's something going on. And the authorities, the government, the powers to be, we know this. We know historically they lie. They deceive. And that's why in the United States we have a $20 trillion deficit. Where'd the money go? And so, yes, Steve, the passion that I have for this and what I saw in you was that there was an opportunity to say, all right, we are laymen. We don't have degrees, don't have any expertise other than the fact that we are a human being and we can witness. And the fact that you and I, and now the tens of thousands and the others that are becoming the subscribers, is that we're all human beings and we all have something to say in this. And I think that's what WSO allows.
Well, speaking of that, Wayne, and just this is a good opportunity to say that if anybody wants to send us materials that you'd like us to look at, send them to olson.steven.d@gmail.com. I'll leave the link below. But here's another photograph, Wayne, and what's interesting about this one to me is we've got this bright sunshine, but what is this dark material back here?
I don't know.
It makes me think that it's illuminating an object, and then of course we've seen this many, many times, okay? This striped orb thing, we've seen this many times.
So When I look at that dark region, so I have to say, all right, let's say that the camera is picking up something that hasn't been altered or filtered. You know, Steve, how they test the air, right, is by the particulates, by the billions, millions, right? Would we not be able to begin to say up at the upper levels, and of course you and I don't have the capacity at this point to go up and take samples at that level, but my question is, I wonder if we would not find particulates of particularly, let's say, iron oxide dust.
That's what I would theorize. And here's another frame of a different angle, but you can see, you notice
Same
how,
thing.
yeah, you notice a lot of times we'll have this red halo be, basically the sun is right in the center of it. When I see that it's not in the center of it, it makes me think that this is an object behind that light source, doesn't it?
Yep.